has a choice. Hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the running man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. Welcome to another classic Arnold Schwarzenegger review. Today's review is the 1987 science fiction action film The Running Man, a film that is directed by Paul Michael Glaser. It is based on a Stephen King book, and it stars, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, as well as Maria Conchita Alonso, Yaphet Kotto, Jim Brown, Jesse Ventura, Erland van Lith. We have Professor Tonoru Tanaka, Mick Fleetwood, and Richard Dawson. Now, the film is set, it came out in 1987, and it's set in the year 2017 initially. And it focuses on Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, Ben Richards, who is framed for the killing of innocent civilians. In actual fact, he actually tries to save them, not kill them. He's sent to a prison that he escapes from, and then he's recaptured and forced to compete in a brutal TV show called The Running Man that has become the most popular show ever on a state-run TV station, and he is given basically no choice but to compete on this show. On this show, basically, you have to make your way through different zones. You get hunted by some stalkers, and if you live, you get a pardon and all this kind of stuff. Right, my thoughts on The Running Man. Well, this film, again, was one of my staple Arnie films in the 80s and the 90s. There are aspects of this film when I was younger that I had an issue with. After rewatching it to prepare for this review, I hadn't seen it for a few years. I'm a little bit more chilled about the problems with this film, I think. Now I'm a bit older and mature. I think some of the issues I had with this film when I was younger were... I don't know, I think it didn't properly highlight Arnie, I don't think. I think it's just because it was on the back of things like Commando and all this and Predator and all this kind of stuff, and I never really felt like it showcased Arnie full potential in this film. I never really thought the film showed its full potential in regards to its brutality and its violence and all this kind of stuff. I always felt like it was holding back a little bit. And while I do kind of still feel like that, like I say, I'm a little bit more chilled out about it now as well. Now, if the name Paul Michael Glaser, who directed the film, sounds familiar, he is Starsky from the TV show Starsky and Hutch, and he had very little directing experience, certainly in motion pictures. And Arnold Schwarzenegger certainly wasn't impressed with him being cast as we've been brought on board as the last-minute replacement as a director. And he felt this film was filmed like a TV show. And he, to some degree, he's right. I absolutely agree with Arnie here. This film felt like it should have been like an event film almost. And in some ways, it was way ahead of its time. I mean, when you look at reality TV these days, it's only ever really been a stone throw away of something like The Running Man for a few years now, reality TV. I think I'm right in thinking that The Running Man, was a direct inspiration for the game show Gladiators that started in America, and it certainly came to the UK in the 90s and things. So it was quite influential in many, many ways. And the film is highly entertaining, even if it does feel at times a little bit cheap. And I think some of the stuff that lets this film down really does let it down. Like when it's showing at the beginning of the film, like clips from The Running Man. They are clearly clips from when Arnie and his pals are in the game show, and they've just kind of looped them on the big screen at the beginning of the film, but he'd not yet entered the TV show, so there are aspects of the film that just really frustrate you and feel very, very cheap. And I think if they'd have thrown a bit more money at this film, a little bit more money, a little bit more, shine and professionalism, I think this film would have really, really stood up as a real high point in Arnie's career. As it as it stands now, it's like a watchable, fun Arnold film, but hasn't necessarily stood the test of time. I mean, the guy with Dynamo, you know, these stalkers that they're sending after him in The Running Man, for the most part, are pretty decent. Buzzsaw was good. I thought Sub-Zero was decent. Fireball was okay. And then Dynamo, I couldn't take the guy seriously, even when I was a kid, and he looked ridiculous. Now rewatching it with his ridiculous helmet that wouldn't fit properly, and it was just a bit bizarre aspects of the film that just didn't work for me. I thought there was great chemistry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Conchita Alonso. I did think they had some real good chemistry on screen. I really enjoyed the dynamic between those two at the beginning when he kind of kidnaps her, and then later when she is reunited with him in the game. And again, that's something I had an issue with every time I've watched the film, you know, the fact that they get run through this game and chased by stalkers, and then she gets injected into the game like 2 hours later when they're already in it, and she just stumbles across them, you know what I mean? So there's lots of conveniences here that, you know, again, do frustrate. And I think modern audiences certainly wouldn't stand for a lot of the stuff that they do in this film. But it is highly entertaining, and the guy that plays Killian, Richard Dawson, who my understanding is, because obviously I'm not from America, I don't know, he was a real-life game show host, or was it Family Feud or something like that they presented for many years. He's a joy in this film. I mean, he plays the absolute slime ball of a host for this Running Man show. He's just perfect casting, really. Jesse Ventura, I thought, was misused in this film. You know, that fight that they kind of superimposed at the end between Arnie and the Jesse Ventura character. It was a great fight, but I could never get invested in it because you knew it wasn't real. You know, they superimposed his face onto somebody else's, even though obviously it was Arnie and Jesse doing the scene together. So I always struggled with that as well. So, while I do think this film has issues, it is still incredibly entertaining to watch. Really fun to watch. A really fun 80s Arnold film that hasn't necessarily dated particularly well. And I think is actually primed and ready for a big budget type remake. I just think it would do really quite well if they kind of did it right. Because as good as The Running Man is, this film is, and it is very highly entertaining. I do think there are a number of films out there that could be remade, and I do think there are some missed opportunities here. And if you read as well the Stephen King book, well, it was called Richard Bachman. When he wrote the book, he didn't go under his name Stephen King. He wrote it under Richard Bachman. I remember reading the book a few times when I was younger, and the book is very violent and very different actually from what we actually see on screen in the movie version. So I think if they did like a remake and kind of, you know, did it a little bit closer to the book, I think it could really work still today. But as it stands, it's just a really fun, entertaining Arnold Schwarzenegger film that I think does sit proudly in his film catalogue. There are aspects of it that I have said is a missed opportunity, but it is fun, it is enjoyable, and if you haven't never seen it, then it is definitely worth checking out. Yes, it's cheesy as hell, but you will easily be entertained by it, sometimes in the wrong way, but mostly in the right way. I really still enjoy watching it. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will be back with more classic film reviews, top 10 lists, Arnie reviews, back on the channel very soon. So thank you very much for watching.